As the prophet of esports, I rely on trustworthy and meaningful data every day. Data from our research partner YouGov offers the most complete view of esports fans and gamers in the world, providing context to who they are, what they think, the brands they buy, and things they do. YouGov's connected insights and research services inform strategy at every level. If you're a team, a brand, agency, or rights holder, you should be talking with YouGov. Their partners measure and maximize ROI and are telling compelling stories with data. Visit yougov.com/gaming-esports to learn more.
Let's talk about Lord of the Rings in the context of gaming, because there was this story from Variety, which I don't think got much attention, but the headline here is Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit film and gaming rights up for sale. So an array of movie, merchandising, gaming, and live event rights to Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, and other titles from Tolkien are coming up for auction now that Saul Zentsko has decided to sell its Tolkien holdings. They hired an investment bank to handle the sale process. It says the Tolkien properties are projected to fetch at least $2 billion based on recent high valuations for top-tier IP and content producers. It says the timing of the sale is not accidental. Amazon's set to premiere its long-awaited mega-budgeted TV series rendition of The Lord of the Rings. And Amazon supposedly is at the top of the list of prime candidates to pursue the additional rights now held by Zantz and Co. The holdings encompass rights to exploit Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit properties in film, video games, merchandising, live events, and theme parks. It also includes limited matching rights should the Tolkien estate decide to make movies or other content based on 2 compilations of Tolkien writings that were published after his death. So, interesting story here about Lord of the Rings IP rights around gaming, and also movie, but gaming interest, like more relevant to this conversation. First of all, what do you guys think of the potential buyer in Amazon? Second of all, what do we think of the $2 billion price tag? Jeff?
I think I think Amazon makes sense because they're making the game
TV show
and the TV show. Are they doing a game also? Yeah, so they make total sense by the IP.
I don't think there's any
They're
game.
not doing a game?
Mm-mm.
Okay, they're doing the TV show, so it makes sense for them to acquire. They've been active in buying media properties. I think they bought MGM as well. In terms of the price tag, it seems low, honestly. I mean, The Lord of the Rings is a massive IP. If Star Wars was worth $7 billion, $4
billion. Star Wars $4 billion.
Is it half of a Star Wars? To me, that feels a little light. The comparison that I make actually is to Destiny, right? If Destiny and Bungie just got bought for $3.8 billion, feels like Lord of the Rings should be worth a lot more than $2 billion. Now, obviously, I think this is just the IP, right? It's not like a company.
Correct.
So you're not with Bungie. Obviously, they were buying the developers and the team. So the comparison's not perfect, but Lord of the Rings is the tier 1 IP. $2 billion seems kind of low.
It's Lord of the Rings, guys. If this was just for the gaming rights, don't you think that'd be $2 billion alone?
Yeah, it seems low. It seems really low. I love the comparison to Bungie. They weren't just paying for the team; they were begging the team not to leave after. So let's not forget
$1.2 billion
to please stay. It seems way too. It just seems so low, right? I get that it's just IP. That's a good distinction. But you're talking about 6 of the most influential movies over the last 20 years, right? A handful of video games that were great. I don't even want to question myself. I wish I pulled this up sooner, but I thought they had a game of the year in the last 6 years, but I could be wrong.
Keep in mind, these are rights to use in future, right?
Like, I understand that, but I'm highlighting the potential. I'm highlighting the strength of the market, how strongly the fans resonated with the IP when it was successfully executed, and that potential for what you could do in the future. $2 billion just seems kind of low. I don't think it's like a $10 billion play, but with everything in gaming going for so much more than we would ever dream, it seems low.
Here's my question for chat. Okay, rank the following 4 IP in order from most valuable to least valuable. Okay. Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, Marvel, Destiny.
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
Oh, Harry Potter.
Oh, throw Harry Potter in the mix. I like it. 5.
Oh, okay.
From most valuable to least valuable.
Can I go?
Yeah, go ahead,
First?
Jeff.
First?
Yeah.
Marvel, Harry Potter, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings. Yes,
I'm sorry. Is Destiny your most or your least?
that was sorry. That
Most
was from
valuable to least valuable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
You put Harry Potter above Star Wars?
I did.
Yeah.
I like Harry Potter a
Interesting.
lot.
I got a Star Wars tattoo, and I agree with that.
This is my personal ranking.
Most valuable to least valuable, not which one we like best.
I know.
Well, Tom thinks I'm right, and Tom worked at Netflix.
Chris, I think, agrees with you here. He says overpriced Lord of the Rings ships has sailed. Today's kids are growing up on too many other fantasy IPs that have replaced the uniqueness of Tolkien's work, unfortunately. Chris, I don't agree. I really don't. I usually agree with you on almost everything, but I just don't agree on this.
God, can you imagine one good cartoon in this world? Like, every kid would love that.
I agree. And I think the Amazon's show is going to introduce it to a new generation, a new audience, right? Fundamentally. Chillberry says 2 billion. Microsoft has entered the chat. I mean, do we think Microsoft maybe buys it? Or is it Amazon or someone else? I mean,
Microsoft doesn't have the you need a media arm, right? Microsoft doesn't do media.
Well, they have Activision Blizzard now, which can do games, could arguably do TV, right?
Yeah, but
Probably.
they don't have like a streaming service they're trying to build or like a subscription.
True.
Like, the only buyers for this realistically are Disney, Netflix, Amazon, and maybe Apple. That's
Sony.
it. There's no one else on earth that would buy it.
Sony, potentially.
Sony.
That's a good point.
Sony's good.
No
Sony's
one else
good.
on earth.
Buying spree.
All right, fine. I said there's no one else on earth.
Tom says Jeff is right. I mean, I don't know if Jeff's
Let's
right.
just put that every 5 minutes. Let's just keep it going.
Antonio, hold on. Antonio's is interesting. Antonio says Star Wars. So he flipped Star Wars. He definitely agrees Star Wars is more valuable. Star Wars, Marvel, Lord of the Rings, Destiny. Curious where you stick Harry Potter in there. But in fairness, I did start with only 4. Adam says 2 billion is super low for Lord of the Rings. I would love a Lord of the Rings MMO. Also, Marvel, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, and then Destiny. I mean, Jeff, this is putting Harry Potter way lower. It seems everyone agrees Destiny's the bottom of the pile so far.
Yeah. Exactly.
Everyone also agrees that Marvel and Star Wars are kind of neck and neck. I just can't believe that Harry Potter is so low on some of these listings because Harry Potter
is way. I think Marvel's number one is not even close because there's so much future. Like there's so many characters in Marvel.
Okay,
Are
but
you
what
kidding
about
me?
in gaming? Because I don't feel like they've had a lot of success.
I'm not talking about games. I'm not talking specific.
Well, that's what we're talking about. Is the application of the IP in gaming.
Oh, well, yeah, okay.
I thought we were just talking about the
sense.
IP. Like if you owned it, how much value could you squeeze out of it? Or,
well,
gaming
the
would be a
ability to
part of
make
it.
games, is part of it.
Well, it's a plug for Meta Business. You should, if you haven't listened to Meta Business, the episode hasn't actually come out yet, but Monday next week you should listen because we did a whole deep dive into Disney and their gaming strategy, and we did talk a lot about Marvel and stuff like that, and who they should buy to get into gaming.
On that same note, by the way, as someone that recently went to Disneyland and Disney who owns Marvel and Star Wars, I can say that Star Wars Land is way cooler than Marvel over at California Adventure, like a million times better. So for whatever that's worth.
We're in these rights, interestingly enough. Freddie says Star Wars, Marvel, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. I'm amazed that everyone thinks Lord of the Rings is not that valuable. Like I'm blown away.
I'm not saying it's not valuable, but what has been when was the last Lord of the Rings movie or anything that made money?
These movies were like some of the top grossing ever, like of all time, right? Like
they were incredible.
No one's saying it's not valuable. The point is when you're comparing it to Star Wars and Marvel. I mean, the Marvel Cinematic Universe literally prints multi-billion-dollar movies. Like the worst one, like Mr. Strange or whatever his name, Doctor Strange, was like $1.5 billion movie. Like that's almost as big as like most of the Lord of the Rings.
Here's what you're talking about is, I think Disney has done a better job than anyone of exploiting the IP, Marvel IP, right? And I think that's never been done fully with Lord of the Rings, right? There were some sort of landmark movies that were made, but if you look at the amount of characters, places, events, universes that the Tolkien universe holds, the potential for movies and games, theme parks, like no one has exploited it. And I think this is where I think everyone's underestimating the value of that IP because we haven't seen it yet. But the depth is, I think it's way deeper than Marvel.
Really?
I would argue
maybe like hundreds of superheroes. You can do origin stories.
True. But I would put it on the level of a Marvel. Let's put it that way. I would say maybe deeper than a Star Wars.
I thought it was over. You bring the ring, you throw it in the thing, the fire. So I never saw half the Lord of the Rings. So maybe
he invented a whole language.
Yeah. Jeff,
I didn't know that.
So you know, like
how useful is that? How am I going to watch it if different language?
How useful is that?
That's a negative.
For numbers' sake, from what I like from a quick Google, it looks like there's been 27 Marvel films, and they've each grossed close to $1 billion. The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings have also grossed close to $1 billion on each film, if not over.
So you're saying I'm right?
Well, no,
what she's saying is 27 billion and one is 2 billion. Like, what is bigger?
No. She's saying pound for pound, they're swinging about the same. I think is what you're saying.
One just hasn't been as
exploded. I hate giving pound for pound. That's a ridiculous thing to say. It's
I hate giving you credit,
because there's only.
I hate giving you credit, but I'm looking at top box office, like lifetime gross, and Marvel properties, including Avengers and Spider-Man, are holding 4 of the top 10 spots. Star Wars is only holding 1. Lord of the Rings isn't up there. So I do hate giving them credit, but I wanted to throw that out
in the metaverse future, Lord of the Rings would be the IP I would want way before I'd want anything from Marvel. I'm just saying. Let me just read these comments, guys, because we're falling way behind. Sandy says,
"Crazy,
or movies."
Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Marvel, Destiny, Star Wars. Our Sanity, is this most valuable to least valuable? Did you put Star Wars last?
You're crazy.
After Destiny?
Uninstall.
That's only talking about gaming, I guess.
I want to know why, and if you're specific to gaming, because if you're specific to gaming, I could maybe get on board with this, right? Like I could maybe agree with this ranking. And that's an interesting twist if we made it specific to gaming. Chris says Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, whatever Netflix makes, your boomer is showing.
Chris, your lack of creativity is showing.
As if Chris is not also a boomer. Come on. How many kids today and over the past 10 years are reading The Hobbit? I think more than you think.
Chris is right.
Our Sanity says, I think with the new show, Chris, it brings the next generation into the Lord of the Rings universe. I totally agree with that. 100%.
Hope so.
Beast Mode, in the same way Netflix brought F1 to the masses, like I think the new show, Lord of the Rings show, is going to bring.
All it takes is a new IP, or all it takes is a new application of that IP to update it, right? Like the new Star Wars movies that brought, and then the remakes or the FX kind of design ones from the 90s,
which were horrible, but
which were all of it, but at least we got the Mandalorian, so I'm okay.
Beast Mode said you would be surprised on how many kids read Hobbit. This is true. Chris says, good call. Our Sanity. There you go. Some agreement. Tom says Warner Brothers could be on the list of interested parties. This is true.
Hey.
Although they've said they've got out of the games business. So I feel like that would be a big, they'd be holding on to rights they're not going to use. Chris says, P.S. This is the best show yet. Everyone's arguing.
And none of it's about gaming.
Our Sanity says, I have not enjoyed a single Star Wars game so far. I haven't seen any Marvel games do well either, though. Marvel games definitely
This totally affected my thoughts when I was doing the rankings, by the way. It wasn't like in my mind, I wasn't thinking about what IP would be best kind of move forward with. I was thinking about what's already out there, sort of.
Yeah.
Oh, my existing favorite games are largely Star Wars related video games. I mean, you can even make an argument for Lego Star Wars.
Well.
They've been
historically.
Great.
Yeah.